Amanda, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And I think a great place for us to start is I love how positive you are, given everything that you've gone through over the last few years, just given the way the world can be right now. You remain so optimistic. My question for you is like, how do you do it? How do you remain so optimistic day in and day out, despite what you've gone through?
I mean, I do think I've always been a pretty optimistic person. I mean, thinking back like throughout my whole life, I think staying positive, being a positive person is a choice. I actively choose positivity. I actively choose the glass half full option. So I just make it a part of my day. I make positivity a part of my day as if you take a shower every day, brush your teeth every day. Like it's just a part of my day.
And you mentioned that it's a choice and it's like this mindset shift that I think a lot of people have to make. I guess in my own experience, it's also been a result of some of the other choices that I've made, whether it be moving my body, people I spend time with, types of foods I eat, making sure I get enough sleep, spending time, with loved ones, stuff like that. What else do you do to help create that positive atmosphere for your life?
Well, I mean, like every morning I wake up, I always like the first thing I do is find some sort of positive thought or some video or something that, immediately just puts me in a good mind frame. I mean, you mentioned it, like moving my body, working out is my number one go-to mental health positivity things. The minute I start working out, even if it's like I go to a class and I don't like the music, like I still end up feeling better after I leave there or while I'm, at the workout. I love sweating and I love challenging my body. On the flip side of that is like rest and relaxation. Like I just was on a vacation in Mexico and I realized like how much sleep and just resting also makes me so happy. So I think like just finding those things in your day that you can do to encourage your the best version of yourself.
I was watching you on another podcast, and the conversation was around like what would you have told yourself, like, before you entered in the grieving process or before the event happened with Nick? Or I think it was something along those lines. Your response was something along the lines of, it's a really hard question because that situation, like, changed you, and it changed you in some ways. Obviously, there were some blessings that came out of it as the way it's maybe shaped your character, your relationship with your son, and stuff like that. What advice do you have for somebody who's going through a situation like that where they don't see how this situation is gonna make them any better at the other side of it? They're just like, "I don't understand how this is gonna help me. My life is in despair right now. I just got divorced, I just lost a job, I just lost a child," whatever it is. Like, what kind of words of wisdom would you say?
My words of wisdom is that it's going to change you no matter what. There's no way it can't change you. I've been through a divorce too. My divorce changed me. Like I was a completely different person after my divorce. And I thank God for it. And obviously losing Nick changed me again. Anytime you go through something traumatic or hard, it's going to change you. Even if that changes 1%, it will change you. I mean, I think change is good. I think we learn from change. We learn from that growth. And so learn from it. Take the opportunity to actually like dig deep and learn from that change because it can make you stronger. It can make you a better person. And, in my opinion, who wants to stay in the past? You want to keep growing and changing and evolving.
I wanna talk about love for a second because I think that's a word that gets thrown around so much now. Like, "I love this, I love that," or "I'm in love," or "I'm falling in love." And I've never been married, but if I remember correctly, like, the vows are something like you're supposed to love the person until death do us part, or something like that. You live that, right? And you were there till the end, like, loving your husband. How has your perspective on love changed?
I think it's funny, after my divorce, I like didn't believe in love and marriage for a hot second. And then after losing Nick, I think my perception of love is just that to me it's the best thing in the entire world. It's like feeling safe. I think love just makes you feel safe. Like when you're really in a beautiful loving relationship with somebody. I think that's like the best thing that it can do. You know you have somebody that you can count on or that is going to be there for you. So yeah, love now just means like I guess like that ultimate comfort and safety, which is, yeah, I mean to be honest, like what I miss a lot about not being, married and having that person in my life is just that comfort and safety that love, that loving relationship gives you.
How have you continued to evolve? I think I was reading somewhere that you don't like the term widow, which I completely understand. Maybe share a little bit why you don't like that term and how you choose to see yourself instead.
I just think that widow, I mean, yeah, this was a while ago. I forget why the word I think I looked up the word or I was doing something and I just never liked the word. I feel like the word has a negative connotation to it, kind of like divorce. Like when I was going through my divorce, like I couldn't get the words out. Like I didn't want to say I was divorced or I was going through a divorce because like the word is just very harsh. And then I lose Nick and then I'm classified as a widow. And I felt like that also just, it seems sad. Like it just has a very sad tone to it. And so I researched what it meant and I was like, I am sad, but like I've learned a lot through this and I actually feel very strong at the same time. And so I just started like researching why this word is used and where it comes from and what it means. And I was like, okay, but I think when you lose somebody like I did and when you become a widow, like you just become a different version of yourself, this stronger version of yourself that you didn't even know that you had somewhere deep inside you. And yes, it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen because your life has to keep moving forward. And I just felt like I related to that idea of a woman after losing her husband than what widow meant, which I forget what it means. I could look it up or it's on my Instagram. I did the whole post about it, but I just didn't feel like I liked to be attached to a word that meant something so sad and defeated. And I didn't feel like I was a sad and defeated person.
Yeah, I think it said something like "be empty" or something like that was what I was reading, and I think, like, after I read that, I was like, "Yeah, I can definitely understand why somebody wouldn't wanna be referred to as that, like, 100%."
Yeah. And, I mean, I mean, I have widower. I have a lot of friends, men that have lost their wives. You become a part of this club when when you've lost somebody. And a lot of my widower friends felt the same way. It's like, why do we have to call ourselves these like sad words when yes, our life is sad and what happened to us was very sad, but we've become these really strong people from it. So we didn't want to be attached to this sad word.
Have you ever connected with Matt Mauser? You know Matt?
I don't think I have.
He was on America's Got Talent. His wife, Christina, was in the helicopter with Kobe Bryant. Yeah, and he's been on the podcast, but, just very similar but different story, and, he's got I think he has, don't quote me on this, like, 3 kids, I think. I remember, like I mean, I just tear up every time I think about it 'cause it was such an emotional, like, America's Got Talent episode. I forget they were asking him, like, why he chose to do this, and he said something like, I need to show my kids how strong I am, and that no matter what life throws at you, you have to keep getting back up and moving forward. And you sharing what you're sharing like reminds me a lot of that, right? In that you're choosing that path because it's easy. I think it would be. I think I would almost understand completely. I mean, I would understand completely if you were just chose to feel sorry for yourself, right? Because it's like such a tragic situation that I've never been in it, and I completely understand that your life falls apart. Like, how did you end up pulling yourself out of, like, that dark place? I mean, other than just choosing a different path, remaining optimistic about, the day to day, like, what kind of things really helped you through the years?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely. I still have days where you feel like you don't want to get out of bed or you don't want to do anything or just lay on the couch. Those are completely normal. Um, and I'm never putting anyone down for having those days, weeks, months, whatever time period that is, because it's normal. How did I pull myself out? Because it didn't happen right away. Right after Nick passed, I think I was in such a little bit of a fog of what had just happened and everything that I had been going through for the last 3 months. And we were in this pandemic. Oddly, though, the pandemic helped me because, as I was sitting at home doing nothing or feeling bad for myself, it was oddly comforting to know that everyone else in the world was still in their houses, not doing anything. And it sounds maybe selfish or something, but there's something very like when you're having a bad day, but then you look on Instagram and people are like, living their life or doing something amazing, it like makes you feel worse. But like when you're grieving and you're feeling horrible, and then you look on Instagram and everyone else is stuck in their homes, like it oddly made me feel comforted. Yeah, it was like I do remember being in a really, really hard place, like cleaning out Nick's stuff and deciding we were moving into the house that we had bought together. So like it was a lot of things going on at once. I don't know if I honestly remember. The thing that comes to my head the most was the fact that I was a mom. And ironically, Nick's mother told me this would happen because she had lost her husband only a couple years before. And she said to me, she was, Amanda, you're going to go through a really hard time. And she was like, Elvis will save you though, because you're going to have to get out of bed. You're going to have to care for someone else. You're going to have to smile. He's going to make you smile. And you're going to have to put someone else's needs before yours. And she was right. And I think that like having him around, he was a year and a half, um, was my saving grace because it helped pull me out of bed. It helped me pull me out of sad depression, um, all of those times. Because again, it was like, okay, I couldn't put the attention on myself. I couldn't soak in my sorrows because I had a little boy that I had to take care of.
I'd love to know your thoughts on like religion, not in a dogmatic way, but a lot of people they don't believe in God or they don't believe in Jesus because of things like you experience or like if these things were real, then why would stuff like this happen? What has been your relationship like either before or after your situation with religion?
Before everything, I grew up Lutheran, and in a religious household. So to this day, I love going to church and I pray every night, and I love religion. I love my relationship with religion. Everything started happening with Nick. I like buckled down probably harder than I've ever done in my entire life with what I believed in, praying and putting my faith in God to help me and Nick. Um, there were definitely days where I would come home from the hospital after, bad news reports, and I would cry to my mom and dad and I would say, I don't understand. Like, why is God allowing this to happen? Like, why won't he heal Nick? Why won't I'm praying for a miracle and all of these things. All I can tell you is that I've never felt closer to God, closer to what I believe in than those 3 months of my life. Even though I was losing my husband and he was in the hospital and things were eventually did not go our way, I have never felt more present in what I believe. And there were times in many, many days at the hospital, they gave Nick an hour. They would say, there's nothing else we can do. He'll pass away in an hour. And I would sit in his room and I would put on Amazing Grace and I would pray over him, and he would make it a whole nother week or a whole nother month or a whole nother 3 months. And I've never felt like the presence of God in my life like I did in those moments. So it really only, ironically, because you would think it would be the opposite, it actually only made me more of a believer.
You talked about earlier in our conversation where you had this sense of anger, like towards the situation or just towards life in general because of what happened. And you mentioned that, even though like you mentioned that you had this strong relationship with God and that you questioned him at times, but it was still there. That relationship was still there. How did you begin to process some of that like anger and resentment you just had at whatever it was, whether it was the world, whether it was family, yourself, whatever it was? Like, how did you begin to untangle that?
I've done a lot of therapy, all different kinds of therapy, conventional, non-conventional. That has really helped. Every time I do any kind of work on myself to try to let that go, it has helped because it can. I mean, that anger can, if you don't let anger out, it'll just eat you up inside. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to be my life. I'm not an angry person. So I've just been working on it. I've worked on it since day one. I continue to work on it. I don't think healing has an end. I think because we keep on living and we keep on having to deal with grief throughout our entire lives, you have to keep working on healing your entire life. There's no end, graduation ceremony for healing or grief. So just continuing therapy on those situations.
Obviously, you're still going through some of the grieving process now, and I'm sure that'll always be there. But how long did it last to where you finally felt like you were making some serious progress and you were starting to come out on the other side of it? Because the reason I ask is because a lot of people that I've talked to have gone through stuff like similar situations, or they've gone through like a horrific divorce or something. They'll feel like great for like 2 months, right? They're like, this is not as bad as I thought it was. Then all of a sudden it like hits them and or her, and it's like boom, like wow. And then it's this roller coaster. And then sometimes the roller coaster continues because of choices that people make, and sometimes they come out of it at whatever time, is meant to come out for them.
I mean, I'm like trying to give a very thoughtful answer here because everyone, I mean, this is me. Obviously, no one's grief line is the same. I guess I would say around like a little bit after a year, maybe I started to feel a little bit more normal. The first year is hard because it's the year first. So like, every month hits you like it's been 2 months, it's been 3 months. It's your first anniversary that you don't have your person, your first birthday, you don't have your person, their first birthday that they're not here. Elvis's first birthday without him. So the first year is very hard. So I would say I probably started to feel more normal after like that first year of things.
What role has like fitness played in this whole process for you? Like, do you think that it's really been super beneficial for you as far as
For me, and it's my top suggestion for anyone, throughout Nick's battle and then every day after, I move my body every single day. Putting on music and even moving for 10 minutes is an increase for your adrenaline, for your mood, your oxygen, for everything. Like it's my number one go-to.
what kind of things do you like doing now for fitness other than I know your fitness program is, I guess it's centered around, I believe, like jumping rope, right?
Dance and jump rope, yeah, is my fitness routine, for what I do, but I love to do everything. I love playing tennis, I love boxing, I love dance class. I really kind of every day mix it up. I do Pilates, I do yoga. I I love to challenge myself, so I usually do something different every single day, just to keep it fresh, keep my body guessing, my muscles, challenged.
Like, what's your relationship like with fear now? Because I would imagine like one of your worst fears ever like came true, and I'm just interested to know like how that's shaped how you view like uncertainty in life.
It's a twofold. The first part of it is that when I'm scared of something, I again like go into live your life mode of like, no, you just do it. You do it now, get over your fear, go. If I'm second guessing something, I'll just usually choose to just do it. So I have like pretty much 80% of my life now is just do it and do it now. Don't wait. But then like the other 20% I would say is that I am a single mom and that there's a lot of times I have to think about my son and being careful and also like towing the line of I don't want to do anything or that could potentially, hurt my life or something because I'm his person. So, I try not to live in fear of anything anymore and just try to take every day for what it can be.
Have you begun, like, trying to put yourself back out, like, in the dating world? Is that a goal of yours?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been back in the dating world for like, I don't know, a couple years now, 2 years maybe.
What's been, some of the unexpected, like, challenges that have come from it?
Putting yourself out there at first is very challenging. You think you're ready or you think you want to give it a try and it's very very hard. I would say the biggest challenge though is for me like I think now especially because I have been married twice and then, when you lose somebody y- y- I don't, like I don't want to be dating again. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't that was never part of the plan. Like I had a person. I was married. It was all figured out. I was good. So I think the challenge now is just that is realizing that I did have that, but I don't have that anymore and I would love to find somebody again. So like you just have to put yourself out there as much as possible. And I go through phases where I'm like very into dating and then I go through phases where I'm like, I'm fine. I'm good. I don't need to go on any dates at the moment. I just try to listen to myself and what I'm telling myself and just kind of go with that flow and not put any pressure on it either. Because for a little while I was putting pressure on myself and then I stopped doing that because I was like, this is only causing me stress and anxiety and now I'm feeling worse off by because I have stress and anxiety about dating. So like I stopped dating for a while just because I was like, I don't want that stress and anxiety in my life. So I don't know. I would just say it's challenging. Dating when you don't have my circumstances is challenging. But
Tell me about it,
now,
yeah.
yeah, coming from that and then also now, being a single parent too and every time I leave the house is I'm leaving him. And then even if I start to like somebody, then I have to think about, could they be a father? Would they be a good father to my son? Would they fit with our dynamic well? So it's just a lot, it's a lot.
It is a lot, and especially with everything that you have going on, it just adds a whole 'nother layer to it. Did you ever or do you ever, like, deal with, like, shame around it, or have you dealt with shame where you're like, "I shouldn't be doing this, like, I need to," Nick's gonna be the last person that I'll ever love or anything like that?
Oh no, definitely not that. No. Nick would be the first person that would be like, go date. What are you doing? He would be the first person to tell me to start dating or go on dates or, find somebody again. So no, I don't have any shame in that way.
One of the things that I think really trips people up, and we've kinda touched on this, but we didn't really go too deep into it, is that they'll go through something in their life that's hard, and it'll be really easy to point to that same thing on why they've destructed other areas of their life. Meaning, if somebody, like, I'll use a divorce as an example again. Somebody gets divorced and then they go and they drink every day for like the next 6 months, and now their other relationships fall apart. They lose their job, blah blah blah. They'll be like, "Well, what happened? Why'd you lose your job?" And it's like, "Oh, I got divorced." It's like, "No, you lost your job because of you started, drinking, and that negatively impacted your life." How have you been able to, like, shape your outlook on life to not let that situation completely, like, define who you are?
I think death teaches you how to live. You watch somebody that was too young to die in front of you and slowly it teaches you how to live. So I would be doing Nick such a disservice if I didn't go try to live a beautiful life every day. I can say that for even watching like a 93-year-old person die. It might sound weird to say this, but there's something very inspiring about seeing somebody pass away because I think it just in my opinion, it should, I guess, inspire you to be the healthiest version of yourself, to be the happiest version of yourself, and to live every day to the fullest. So I would just say death teaches you a lot.
You're in this mindset now where you're like, just do it, and that if you want to do something, you do it. And I know one of the things that you did, I guess, it was about a month ago or so. You took this really meaningful trip with your son to Europe. You spent some time there. Why was that trip so special for you?
It was completely unexpected. I was in Italy already for a friend's anniversary celebration, and Elvis was here in Los Angeles, and I was going to fly home the next day. And my little sister said to me, "Why are you flying back?" And I go, "Well, I don't know. That's just what it was. Oh, this it was scheduled for a week, and Elvis, has school." And she was like, "Amanda, he's in preschool." And I was like, "No, I know." And she was like, "Well, get him over here and come back to Paris with me, and then we can do this, and then you can go here." And I was like, "That's crazy." And then I was like, but that's what maybe I'm supposed to do, like, right now. Maybe I am just supposed to, like, be with him and travel and be a little crazy right now. Like, maybe I should be crazy right now. And then, of course, as soon as I say that, then yeah, Nick pops into my head and he's like, "Yes, you be crazy right now. You have the opportunity to travel and take the time, you do it." And so that's what we did. I got him out to Paris, and then we just kind of had this month-long vacation together that we needed so badly, because I realized on that trip I haven't spent that much time with him since before COVID. I'm a working single mother, and I see him on the weekends, for 24/7, but I haven't seen my son 24/7 for a straight month since before Nick got sick. So it was so needed, and it was so wonderful and so healing, and just really was like such a blessing. I it'll be, I think, a trip that neither of us will forever forget. I know I won't.
You mentioned that Nick, you've had conversations with Nick, whether it be like about dating again, whether it be about this trip. Like, how often do you try to have these types of conversations with him, and what's been some of the words of wisdom you may have heard from him?
I talk to Nick all the time. I usually now talk to him like a friend, like I end up talking to him in the car a lot or something, or at home, or if I put Elvis down for bed or a nap, or if he's doing something silly or cute, I just, talk to him like he's in the room next to me. It's crazy. Like, I don't know. I mean, I very much believe in signs, and I very much believe that he and his energy is still around. So, yeah, I don't, he sends me signs. He definitely, like, makes himself apparent that he's around and here. And it's lovely and comforting. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to necessarily share any, like, things that I felt that he has personally, like, said to me, because I probably will sound like a crazy person. But yeah, I don't know. I think that if you are open to it, people that we've lost can still communicate with us. I really do.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I had a psychic, like a medium, a spiritual medium on the podcast. I think she was on maybe a month or two ago, a couple months ago, and she talked about like the same thing that you did. So I don't think it's crazy at all, because I was actually quite fascinated, like learning about it, just because it was something I've never really explored myself. So it's cool that you've been able to have that type of relationship as well with Nick, even though he's not here on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've acted, you've been on Broadway, you sung, you've, been in movies, talk show host, fitness instructor. Like, what else can you? I know you don't like looking like too far into the future, but do you see yourself like continuing on the path in the entertainment world, or do you see yourself expanding on in the fitness side of things? Where do you see yourself going?
Listen, my fitness business is my baby. I started that after years of being on Broadway, and it's my first company that I ever had, and I love it so much. And as we've talked about, fitness means the world to me. So I would love to continue growing that and teaching. As I love teaching, so I love, working and teaching my classes. But I would say I seriously have become obsessed with creating ideas and making them come into life on film and TV world. So I think my, like, next career goal would just to be continued to do that. like I did with Fit for Christmas, which was a Christmas movie that I filmed last summer and then it was out last Christmas. It was just really fun. It was fun to create the idea in my head and then get it, sold, and then working on it and then going to film it was just so exciting and thrilling. So I hope to do more of that.
Like, more in the like, do you see yourself going, like, on a TV show, or do you see yourself just more in, like, the creative side and, like, helping to create and then appear in movies?
I love both ideas. I have like a bunch of things that I've worked on with my writing partner, and some of them I'm in and some of them they're just ideas that we've, created that I would just love to produce.
What about, like, a show like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette? Do you see yourself with
So funny because I literally was just talking to my sister about the idea of going on as a widow and being like, they've never had a widow. Finding love is hard. Maybe I would do it. I don't know. I never say never.
I think you'd be great at it because I just think you have this great mindset about you to where you're able to, like, kinda cut through the noise and just remain optimistic and just be yourself and not really care what people think of you, which I think is so important when going on shows like that, right?
Well, I mean, like I said, never say never. I definitely would have to cut through a lot of the drama, but yeah.
I think they would probably go easy on you.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Where can people find out more about you if they want to connect with you on your fitness app, if they wanna follow you on social media? Where's the best place to do that?
Pretty much, yeah, my fitness app and everything. I pretty much live on Instagram. Amanda Kloots Fitness is how you find that, and then just Amanda Kloots is for me in my personal life. But I have other platforms, but I can't promise you that I check them or even update them. So I would say your safest bet is Instagram.
Well, I'll be sure to include the links to Instagram and your fitness stuff, as well as, like, where people can buy your books for people for in the show notes in case people wanna check out your work. 'Cause I'm sure after hearing this conversation, they're gonna wanna connect with you more. So, Amanda, I wanted to thank you for coming on. Thanks for your vulnerability. Thanks for all that you're doing to spread positivity in the world. I think it really does mean a lot to a lot of people.
Thank you very much. So nice to meet you, Doug.
You got it, and thanks again.
All right, bye bye.